refused to cooperate with them.
At that time, you had any chance or had any hope that the outside media are going to make a pressure on Taliban to release you or something?
No, and the thing is, as any prisoner will tell you, in those circumstances, you feel entirely alone and isolated, and you think that nobody will know that you've even gone missing. I knew that my work would be concerned that I hadn't called in at the appointed time, but I didn't think that they would raise an alarm for 2 or 3 days. And I just felt that the situation was hopeless.
Have you met any prisoners over there?
No, not initially. The first 6 days I was in Jalalabad, and on the 6th day I was visited by a religious cleric.
In these 6 days, did anyone hurt you, tortured you?
No, despite my very bad behavior, they were perfect gentlemen. They were very courteous and very respectful. And I thought, what's wrong with these people? I know that they're brutal and evil, and they're pretending to be nice to me, but I'm not going to be fooled by this. And so I continued being abusive. And the more abusive and aggressive I became, the kinder and nicer they became. And I thought, what is going on here? These are very devious people. They're using tactics to try and play with my mind. And what they kept saying to me was, why are you angry? You are our guest, you are our sister, we want you to be happy. And I thought, there's something strange. I had no idea. I thought it was a tactic of theirs to...
Yes, naturally.
So I didn't trust them at all. On the 6th day, I was visited by a religious cleric. That really did frighten me, because I had avoided talking about religion for 6 days. And there I was, confronted by this man who asked me, invited me to convert to Islam. I said, I can't make such a life-changing decision while I'm in prison, but if you let me go, I promise I will read your holy book and I will study Islam when I get back to London.
At this moment, you meant this promise, or just you just said it to get away?
I would have promised to have learned Swahili backwards if only they would let me go. And so I would have made this, I would have promised anything, just let me go. And after that exchange, I was then sent to Kabul, to the central prison there, to the terrorist wing of the prison, and I was locked up with 6 Western women and 2 Western men who worked for a charity, and they had been accused of trying to convert Muslims to Christianity. And I was with them for about 4 days.
What were their impressions? Is it the same as you, or...?
Well, they were horrified at my attitude, because I was still on hunger strike. I was still cursing and spitting and throwing things at the Taliban, and they said, you know, there is no need for this. And I said, oh, you've got this Stockholm syndrome, you've bonded, you know, these people are the enemy. You know, you do what you want to do, but let me handle this my way. I am determined to get out, whether it's in a... I
would like to define the people in Arab what the meaning of Stockholm syndrome. Stockholm syndrome هي عبارة عن أعراض تسمى أعراض ستوكهولم، بتعني تعلق المخطوف بخاطفه. إن المخطوف مع فترة من الوقت بيبدأ يتعلق بالإنسان اللي خطفه، لأنه بيعتقد إن هو في إيديه حريته، في إيديه القوة، في إيديه كل شيء، فبيحس بإحساس الطفل الضعيف تجاه الأكبر. ودي كانت أول ما بدأت في ستوكهولم، عشان كده سموها ستوكهولم syndrome. You've been accused for this Stockholm syndrome, I think, after a while.
Yes, I was, because I ended up converting to Islam.
Yeah, but let's not jump
No,
to this decision.
but yes, I was accused of,
Yeah.
of bond. Well, to suffer from Stockholm syndrome, you have to bond with your captors.
Yeah.
You have to enter into a relationship with them, a civil relationship. And as you've heard, my behavior towards the Taliban was anything but civil.
So you spent these 4 days with the other Western prisoners, and then?
And the war began, and the night that the war began, they had said to me, tomorrow you will go home, inshallah. And I said, what is this inshallah that you say? Because whenever it happens at the end of a sentence, it never happens. And they said, no, tomorrow you will go home, inshallah. And then the war began. More than 50 cruise missiles were dropped on Kabul that night.
You were there.
I was there. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. I had covered wars and conflicts before. And it never occurred to me until that moment, bombs don't discriminate. They can't tell civilian from military, man, woman, child.
There's nothing such like smart bombing, no such thing like that?
No. And the terror that I felt that night mixed with I really thought that I will die and I'm going to be blown up by Britain and America.
Finally.
And, you know, the irony of it.
Yeah.
And I also thought there is no way that the Taliban will release me now. But the next morning, despite the high civilian casualties that had been suffered, the Taliban arrived with a people carrier vehicle and said, you're going home.
All of you?
No. The Christians, I had been separated from them. They thought I was being taken away to be executed. I've spoken to them since. And they were told not to talk about me, not to write about me, to erase me, forget I existed. And so they thought that I was being executed. I thought, actually, although they said they were taking me home, I thought, no, that they are going to kill me. And I was in fear of my life right up until the point where the Taliban diplomat turned round at Torkham and said, you can go, you're free to go. And I remember stepping out of the van backwards because I wanted to keep my eyes on them. I still didn't trust them, and turned round.
You thought someone will shot you maybe
Right
afterwards?
at the last minute, and they smiled and said, go. And I started to walk towards the waiting Pakistan media. And one of them shouted, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. And they said, how did the Taliban treat you? And I thought about it in those few seconds. I walked towards the media, and I said, they treated me with courtesy and respect. And this is not what the media wanted. They wanted to hear about the torture, the abuse, maybe even gang rape, you know, everything that subsequently happened in Abu Ghraib.
At that time, you could understood what happened, or you couldn't understand it?
I couldn't really understand it.